Jules, Alethea, congratulations for Good Side of Bad.
Oh, thank you.
Such an emotional story. I don't know how I actually kept myself together for it, but more of a congratulations. It is going to be showcased at Dancing with Films this next week, in fact. And correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the opening night film?
Yeah, so we were selected, so we're so happy and grateful to be the opening night film for the whole Dances with Films festival, and it's also our world premiere.
Wow, wow. This is most certainly exciting for everyone there. Hopefully I can make it myself. But let's start with Alethea here is where did the original story came from for Good Side of Bad?
Well, the story came from a book actually that Jules brought to my attention. She called me one day and she said, I'm going to send you this book. And I'm like, okay. And then I read it like in a minute because it was so awesome and I loved everything about it. And then I called her back. I'm like, are we making this into a movie?
And I was like, it looks that way.
And I had just had a baby boy, and so like during nap times, Jules would come down to my place in Redondo, and we would work out the details for the outline. So that's where it came from. Jules's brilliant mind into my lap.
Wow.
Yes, the
Go ahead.
the book is it's by Beverly Olivan. She's a boss. She is a professor and a very accomplished author, playwright, former actress, and we fell in love with the book, and that's how we got it to today, is from her novel.
Wow. So Jules brought it, and both of you decide to adapt this novel. Was it difficult? Was it a difficult novel to adapt?
Um, well, it's the first time either one of us have ever had the opportunity to adapt something. And yeah, it's for the first time doing that. Like, we read so much and we researched movies that were adaptations, and we're like, how do we do this and like keep the story and the tone and the spirit of the book as well as make it great. So it was a challenge. What would you say, Alethea?
Yeah, I think it wasn't specifically this book was a challenge, but I think it is a challenge to take a novel and turn it into a movie. But we had a lot of help, and Sierra Danielle was extremely helpful in the process as our writer with us. And yeah, so I mean, difficult is relative. It was fun. It was exciting. It was a new adventure. It was something we'd never done before. So there was a lot of discovery along the way. And then even more discovery on set, and then more discovery in the edit, So it's just like constantly like honing down, because, this is long, obviously, and then you only have an hour and a half in a movie. And so getting all of the points and staying and keeping the theme and the tone of the book was obviously really important to us. So yeah, that's challenging.
Well, then that begs the question, because we know in book adaptations there has to be changes because you're talking from page to screen. Tell us some of the important changes that you wish that you could have included into this film.
Well, that's a good question. I feel like one of the magical parts of the novel is that each of the three siblings had their own chapters dedicated to them. So there were like, there'd be the three siblings had chapters, and then there'd be another set of their chapters, right? And so one of the challenges was, not, like Alethea said, not making the movie super long and like drawn out. So instead of doing like a chapter, each character has their own sort of world going on, and then trying to marry it, we drilled it down, and we made it so the lead character, Florence, my little sister in the film, is the centerpiece more, rather than each sibling having their own story. They do, but we decided that it would make more sense to have have a hero and have her be our center of the story. Would you say that, Alethea?
Yeah, absolutely. In the discovery of adapting the book to the movie, we discovered that the most important thing of the book is how the siblings come together to help the younger sister. So that is like, for us as filmmakers and art makers, that was like what we wanted to bring to screen. So then the whole adaptation was wrapped around that. Putting all of the siblings in the same room together, always about them coming together. Obviously they fall apart and come back together and all of that happens. But that was the main theme of the movie. And so that was the biggest adaptation change as far as structure, the structure of the book versus the movie. But
and then to put a finer point on your question, I feel like it would have been cool if we would have been able to do that, to weave the three stories together in a way to make three different sort of protagonists. But I think that's maybe for down the line in our filmmaking, because that is like a virtuoso writer would have to do that. And I feel like we did the best we could, and I'm proud of it. But that would be like, I don't know. What's the film that you were always talking about? Mudbound, Alethea?
oh yeah.
Three stories woven, and we can dream about creating a Mudbound, and I think we did a lovely job. But like, that's like, we bow down to them and their ability to do that.
Yeah. But our ultimate choice was to serve the story that we wanted to tell.
Yeah, well, in the end, it is a stronger message, and that's what you presented. Jules, because you brought the book to everyone's attention, at which point you knew you were going to be part of this movie as the older sister?
Well, that's such a good question, because the first film Alethea and I made together was another mental health themed film called Part-Time Fabulous, and I played the lead in that. And for this one, I like to get down and dirty with my roles, and like I've got a sort of a facility with emotional work. And so at first we were like, oh, of course you'll play the schizophrenic sister. And then we really started to get into the research of what the norm is for when schizophrenia starts with people. And it's generally late teens, early 20s. There are also late onset cases, but we kind of went back and forth. And then we just ultimately decided, you know what? Let's make this as real as possible. Let's not leave room for people to be like, we didn't really buy that. So that's when we're like, well, I am older than late teens, early 20s. I know it's crazy, guys. But so we just decided, like, let's do it. Let's have me do the older sister role, and let's find our perfect Florence.
You know what? It works well for you. I barely recognize you as you turn on your Zoom screen here, but you know what? You accomplished that still that emotional journey without playing schizophrenia.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's so sweet, Gig.
Now you probably had to search high and low for Lexi to play Florence here, because her performance was extraordinary.
Well, she's our star. I mean, we feel like we discovered her. She was in my acting class. I was in a wonderful acting class in Studio City with John Lacey, who's a very accomplished actor and director. And she was going to school downtown LA at the LA Center. There's a school there. I can't remember the name of it right now, like getting a degree, like just straight drama degree. And she was going to this like professional acting class at night. And I just watched her and I was like, that girl, she's got something. And so I brought her into audition, and of course, Alethea, share your experience as the director.
Yeah, I absolutely loved her. We did audition several other people and kept coming back to Lexi, and Jules has a very strong gut feeling for things. And, she just knew right away. And I was like, that's great. We know that's great, but let's also see other people. And it was crystal clear that Lexi was our Florence, which was really wonderful. And she was willing to film in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
We were like one of the first 2 or 3 films that decided to film in August. Another film was being made by a friend of ours who actually helped on this a little bit as well. And so,
Yeah,
no, it was like the Wild Wild West. Sorry.
August 2020. I just want to say, like, deep pandemic. Hollywood opened September 2020. So we're bananas. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. And so we not only needed the perfect cast, but we also needed humans who were willing to go on the ride with us, because it was uncharted territory. And, making an independent film has its, speaking of challenges, it has its own challenges. And then being in a pandemic, we didn't even know what those challenges were. As we went in, every day was a new discovery. Like, oh, you have to change the air filter in the house that you're renting, that you're filming in. I'm like, oh, great, changing air filters. Like,
Yeah.
and, so there was a whole other layer of filmmaking that was happening. So, and Lexi was just brilliant. There's no question about it.
Yeah, she's a champ. She stuck through it. Everyone was wearing their masks, and I mean, no one got sick. It was a little risky, but we had everyone. We were like, "Hey guys, no bars. Don't go to any bars." We were like, because that was at the time people were, still going out and getting sick in groups. So, yeah. But she was a champ, as well as the rest of the cast and crew.
Most importantly, Alethea, this is I understand this is your second mental illness film with Jules. How do you draw out people to have the actors play these type of characters, because these aren't easy characters to play, and how do you draw out the emotions from everyone else with the cast?
That's a good question. I mean, I think, Jules and I obviously had many conversations leading up to production, and Jules has her own set of personal experiences to draw from. So I didn't have to do much there. And Lexi and Alex, I mean, Lexi and I talked, a ton. And then on the day, as the director, I'm the first audience, so if I'm feeling that their authenticity is coming through, then I'm happy, obviously. And then if they need help from me, and sometimes, as a director, it's getting out of the way is better than getting in the way and saying too much. But it was really wonderful to be able to work with them. And we had, even though we were on a tight schedule, we made sure that we got enough takes. And so then in each take, we could discover something new and then play with it. Like, yes, this is how we should do it. And then now let's have a little fun with it. And now let's try something different, so just exploring that was a privilege. And then, you just cast the right people. I used to direct theater, and that process is so different. Like, you cast someone and then they really grow, and like where they are in the audition really transforms into the play. But in movies, you spend a lot of time in the casting so that you get the perfect person in casting, and then they show up on the day exactly how they should be. Obviously you're working, but it's a different process. Like Lexi showed up in the audition, and then she showed up on set, and it was just about allowing that to happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is a wonderful film. Everyone should check it out, especially at Dances with Film. Thank you very much, Jules. Thank you very much, Alethea, for carrying this conversation with us for a good side of bad. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gig, and we hope to see you on the 22nd if you can make it up.
Most certainly. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.